I never know what songs to kind of play when I do a gig, and usually when I'm on tour, I ask the audience to vote in advance, so that I always, I don't get booed off stage if I don't play the songs they want me to play. It's their fault for not voting. But this time I didn't do that. I decided to play a song from each era of my 20-year career, one from each album. Because each song has a story, a whole world around it. Not just the meaning of the song, but and not just the meaning for the fan or the listener, because that's often completely different to the actual meaning of the song, and often better as well. But also the story of who made it and where in the world you made it, what gear you might have used, who was involved in the making of that record, what was your life like at the time, what brands of gear you might have been using when you were making that music. All of those stories don't get told. So what I'm going to do is just kind of, while I prattle on, I'm going to just have some data just kind of come off in the background there. So this is talking about my first song. You don't have to kind of read everything, just let it wash over you. It's just to show you the amount of data that is connected to one song, which we don't often ever get to see. But I'm going to talk about a personal story of why I wrote the song. So my context at that time, I was 16 when I wrote this song, and I was still at school, and I was madly kind of infatuated with my teacher. And he didn't know it at the time. Well, he might have done, but anyway, he didn't tell me. But he used to come into school in his kind of very tight lycra bicycle outfit. And it wasn't black, it was like pink and lime green. And he would kind of wander through the foyer, and I just thought he was delicious. And he gave me this extra nice time in the studio for me to kind of hone in on my engineering skills. I really loved, right from the beginning, just getting my hands dirty with all the tech and learning how to not just kind of write a song, but how to produce it, what happens to that sound and how to mix and all that stuff. I always really liked that. And I'm going to play the song Come Here Boy. So I wrote this when I was 16, and some of the lyrics are a bit embarrassing. Very nice. It's got the word ecstasy in it, which is also a bit embarrassing, but the girl didn't know better. I did a lot of raving back in the day. Okay, here we go. Not that kind of ecstasy. Anyway, okay, here we go. It's dark in here. Visions are flashing into my head as I reminisce my reoccurring dreams, and you said, well, I'm falling for you, babe, and my feelings are getting stronger, so why don't you stay with me for a little longer? Oh, come here, boy, yeah. Come here, boy. Oh, come here, boy. I know that my face is only too familiar to your sleep. I can see it in your eyes, and I can tell by your body heat, yeah. Well, why are you taking so long? You need to come and find me, honey, to set your mind at rest and let your dreams run free. Come here, boy. Oh, come here, boy, yeah. Come here, boy. Oh, come here, boy, yeah. No, come here, boy. Oh, come. Oh, come here, boy. after, I'm craving, I'm howling, I'm begging, I'm pleading, be mine tonight, oh yeah. Oh, when I'm waiting and dying, I'm wanting and I'm needing to show you this night, yeah. Where I'll be touching and holding, caressing and giving you your every fantasy, yeah. Where I'll be lusting and turning, I'm begging and pleading for more of this ecstasy, oh yeah. Come here, boy. Come here, boy. Yeah. Come here, boy. Come here, boy. Come here, boy. Oh, come here, boy. Yeah, no, no, come here, boy. Oh, come here, boy. Oh, you know, love, you know, oh, I'm no stranger in your dreams. So after that album, it was a bit. Every record deal always ends in a nightmare, basically. Every record deal, and so at the end of that one, I was waiting around really because they were dragging their feet about another record, and I had another record ready, or quite a lot of it, but they were like, no, we don't really think it's got a single, and no, and I knew that there was something good there, and I just knew there was something fishy, and as it turned out, that they actually were planning to kind of take down the label, to stop the label, because it wasn't earning enough money. But they just kept all of us artists there for nearly a year in limbo, because they just didn't want to tell anyone. So that was a bit annoying. So I was completely like broke, and I had massive, massive debts at that point. And they were still they still had of my my rights and everything. And so I met up with a friend of mine, this guy called Guy Sigsworth, who was one of the producers, and he was working in London at the time, and he was also having problems with his label. So we secretly kind of joined together and started to just do some stuff for fun, stuff that we felt we owned. So we started to make some tracks, and it later became this album that's called Frou Frou. Well, we're the band called Frou Frou, and the album was called Details. And the song that I wanted to talk about for that was this song that's called Let Go. Now, Let Go was originally written, actually, for a different film than the one everybody ended up hearing about. And we actually recorded this song in this tiny little studio, because at that point, now technology had got to the point where you could have your own studio in your living room. We had our little studio in Westbourne Park, but it meant that we could have our own recording gear in a laptop or in a computer, not quite as fancy as they are now, but we could make our record on our own. So we didn't have to have these huge overheads, and we could just take time and write the songs, and we did it just ourselves with a friend, Gilly Weisberg, who did the engineering, and it was just us three in the studio. It was much, much different experience, cost much less money. So again, kind of let down by the label. So we did a tour, and really little tour, just us two on stage. That's when I started to loop on stage, actually because the guy who played the double bass on the record introduced me to live looping, a friend called Mitch Gerber from Switzerland. Meanwhile, this guy called Zach Braff, he's a filmmaker and an actor, and he'd written and directed this film called Garden State. Well, actually at the time it's called La Desoc. And he was trying to get in touch with the people who wrote that song, so that he could try and get permission to put it into his film. And it was all very last minute, because they had to get it to picture quickly, and he almost didn't find out who that song belonged to and who he had to get permission from. And then he finally managed to find it, but only in the nick of time, because there's no database out there which says who owns what. Da, da, da. Strings. So thank you for coming and playing with me. So originally this this song, like I said, was originally used for another film, and it had this kind of drum and bass sound going on in it. But for this one, it didn't quite work out. And when one night I went into the stairwell of my studio, and I've got my cello out. I'm not anywhere near as good as you guys. And I just started to loop the cello, came up with these little ideas, and that's actually how we got the heart back of the song, because we kind of lost it by putting all these drums on it. So that's what we're going to hear tonight, when it was really stripped back, and I was just in the stairwell playing with these little ideas in the cello, and that's kind of how we're going to do it tonight. So here we go. Drink up, baby, down. Are you in or are you out? Leave your things behind, 'cause it's all going off without you. Excuse me, too busy, you're writing your tragedy. These mishaps, you bubble wrap when you know I do want your love. So let go. See that all that stuff's a sideshow, such boundless pleasure. We've no time for later. Now you can't await your own arrival. You've 20 seconds to come by. Let go, jump in. Well, what you waiting for? It's alright, 'cause there's beauty in the breakdown. Let go, jump in. Oh, it's so amazing here. It's alright, 'cause there's beauty in the breakdown. Hey, yeah, hey, yeah, hey. Hi, hi, hey, yeah, hey, yeah, hey. Let go, jump in. Well, what you waiting for? It's alright, 'cause there's beauty in the breakdown. Let go, jump in. Oh, it's so amazing here. It's alright, 'cause there's beauty in the breakdown. Thank you, guys. Love it. So after that, I didn't want to obviously sign another record deal because twice I've been burnt, twice. And I was, again, broke because I had no idea when the money was going to come back. Because, when you get stuff on the radio or not, or you get stuff on a film, or you get stuff sold here and there, it sometimes takes 2 years for that money to come back to you. And it'd be really helpful if you had the money when it comes in, not much later. So this song, Hide and Seek, because so what happened was I basically went around to banks because I needed some money and I didn't want to sign a record deal and there was no other option. So I was like, hello, I'm a musician, I make records, I need some money, can you give us some money please so I can make a record? And they're like, okay, so tell us your job. I'm like, I'm a musician and that is my job. Okay, yes, but what's your actual job that gives you money weekly or monthly that we can put in our books and then we can give you that money? And of course I didn't have one. So I tried, and then I thought, okay, I managed to get lucky because I bought this flat, which was worth, it was a really, really good buy from my first record deal. And I managed to realise that it was twice the amount that it was when I bought it. So I remortgaged it, I took out the cash, and I gave myself exactly a year. So I gave myself 100 grand, and I said, right, my birthday, I'm buying all the gear that I need in my studio. I rented out a studio for a whole year. Well, basically a room in a carpet factory. And then a year later, I booked my mastering date for that album so that I could go in, and that's how much the money lasted for. And one of the songs, this song, Hide and Seek, I was in the studio, my little computer had decided to blow up on that day. I lost all my work, the motherboard went poof. And in order to not leave the studio in a kind of, in a mess, I like to leave it with always something positive. So I decided to plug in a piece of gear I hadn't used, and I started to play the notes on the keyboard, and I started to sing through this thing, and I'll show you what that sounds like later. And there was this TV program called the OC, Orange County, and they used this song called Good Night and Go. And I was in the studio, I was kind of playing with some sounds and some songs, and I sent them over this stuff because I had this friend who was working in a music sync company, and they really liked Good Night and Go, so they stuck it in their TV program. It went down quite well, and then they heard this song Hide and Seek, and they were like, do you know what, we love this song so much. This is before it was even out. We're going to put it at the end of the second series when Marissa shoots Trey. I'm like, okay, sounds good. And so they put it there, and it went completely mental. Like, everybody was talking about this song. What was that song? Nobody could find the information because it wasn't anywhere. There was even after the TV show, it didn't say what it was. But in a way, it was good because everyone was like searching for this song. What was that magic song? And I kind of figured that there might be some, reaction to it, especially in that very emotional end of the series moment. So I made a video with a friend of mine for much less money than the one that Island made. And I got it up there. And then what happened was Saturday Night Live did a skit of that song, that bit when Marissa shoots Trey, and they called it the Dear Sister skit. And then Jason Derulo heard it, and he put it in his song. I'm going to sing it now, basically. Yeah, but the thing about it was, because there's no database, again, for this information anywhere, everyone was giving Jason Derulo a hard time, and anyone who wanted to find out who it was, who didn't know it was me, couldn't find it, because I wasn't on the featured artist. There wasn't the featured bit, so nobody knew it was me. So then I got accused of, oh, you used that song, that bit from that Jason Derulo song in your new song. I was like, oh my God. Where are we? What the hell is going on? The dust has only just begun to fall. Crop circles in the carpet, sinking, feeling. Spin me round again and rub my eyes. This can't be happening when trains and sewing machine, all those years they were here first. All marks appear on walls where pleasure molds her before the takeover, the sweeping sensitivity of this still trains and oh, you won't catch me around here. Blood tales, they were here first. Oh, what you say? Oh, that you only meant well, and of course you did. Oh, what you say? Oh, that it's all for the best, of course it is. What you say? Oh, that it's just what we need, and you decided this. What you say? Oh, what did you say? Ransom notes keep falling out your mouth. Mid-sweet talk, newspaper or cards. You speak no feeling, no one about it. You don't care a bit, you don't care a bit. Hands keep falling out. Mid-sweet talk, newspaper or cards. Thank you. So another song, another album. This one's called Earth. And this time I moved out of London and I went back to live where I grew up. Because I wrote a song with somebody who does manage to sell records, and that meant I could buy a house. Well, kind of take on my old family house, which was very nice. Thank you, Josh Groban. Thank you, Jason Derulo. So with that, I actually first of all decided to go on this big, long writing trip, because I got back off tour, off the Speak for Yourself tour, and I was completely exhausted, and I just didn't want to do all my washing and kind of do all those mundane things. So I went on this massive, long writing trip. And when I came back, I built my studio over 9 months in the basement of my old family house, and which is now my new playroom in my old playroom. And then I did loads of video blogs. I did 40 video blogs. I did one every 2 weeks. I really, really enjoyed it. And I also made a documentary film of how I made that record, because a fan said, oh, it'd be really, really nice if you could show us how you made a record. So I did. And because of that, loads of people started to then realise that maybe I wasn't just a kind of, I was going to say pretty face, but I'm not that pretty. That I wasn't just, a singer or whatever. I could actually record, I could produce, I could engineer, I could do these things. And suddenly interviewers would start asking me things like, you know, oh, so tell us what kind of gear you use, rather than, so when did you start singing? You know, I'm like, oh, God. So it really was great to have this a sharing of how I record a song, how I record an album, and what goes into building a studio as well. And so I went and toured that record, and I was trying to figure out data-wise, like where in the world should I go and tour? And I could see that there was like loads of people buying my stuff on iTunes in the States. So I was like, oh, there must be a really, really big following over there now. So I booked this big tour, like 3,000-4,000 capacity, some of the shows, and they just didn't sell out. Like there were two-thirds full, half two-thirds full. And I was like, how could we have got that so wrong? And I ended up losing loads of money, and it was a bit of a pain. And then I came back, and now by this point I've started to tweet, and I could see loads of Twitter messages in a language that I didn't recognise. And so I asked a friend, I said, what's this language? And they were like, oh no, those guys, they're from Indonesia. They're really into your music. And so I was like, interesting, maybe we should see if we could do a gig there. I mean, I've never sold one record in Indonesia, but I thought I'd give it a go. And so it turned out there was a load of people there, very excited, and I managed to book a gig within a month, and it sold out. It went up on sale, and it sold out within a week. Like, it was a 10,000 capacity show. 10,000 capacity. Like, I can't even do that in LA. So I was like, how did this happen? How could I not know? And then I was like, where in the world are my fans? There's no way for me to tell anymore. In the beginning, for like my first album, it was pretty obvious, because you would sell records, and that's how it would get around. But now music is everywhere. Everyone can get any music they want, any time of the day, on all your devices. What an amazing time. But we never get that data back, so I was completely unaware. Anyway, so I managed to book this other tour then. It was really great. We did loads of Asia, and we did all these kind of unusual places, not on the usual tour route. And it was so fantastic. And when I did those tours, I had this song that I wrote called Earth, which is, because now I lived in the countryside, and I was kind of aware of seasons and trees and green stuff and bunny rabbits. And so I started to think about our Earth, and I was reading The New Scientist, because I love The New Scientist, I read it every week, and started to take real note, and I wanted to write a song from the point of the view of the planet, Mother Earth, and us, little kind of teenagers running around amok, making a right mess of it. So Earth is sung from the point of view of the Earth. So all of these people that you're seeing up here are all people around the world who've played with me, accompanying this song. So I thought, hey, I'm coming to Cape Town. I wonder if they could find me a local choir to come and sing this song in Cape Town. And lo and behold, we have the amazing choir who've been recommended to us by the theatre, and they're absolutely amazing, and they've only just learnt this song literally in like the last day, and they're so good, and I'm going to welcome them to the stage. They're called the Western Chorale. Keep going. I'm not golden, now I'm getting tired. Act like you own the place, but really you've only just arrived. I caught first glimmers in hides and skins. Look who's all grown up, black swanning about the solar winds. You're gonna lose it all and find yourself on your knees. So get a grip and you might flow, reverse the great slow bleed. I've tried patience, but you always want to war. This house won't tolerate anymore. Stop this right away. I put that down and clean this mess up. End of conversation. Put your bucket in and make it up to me now. The cold shoulder, folded arms, and looking up. You never listen and carry on careless. Regardless, this is not a fire drill, and if we hold any hope, it's harmonic connection, stereo symbiosis. These little land empires choking out mine. Now you're everywhere, multiplying around me, child. A strain on my heart, this rock can't tolerate anymore. Stop this right away. Put that down and clean this mess up. End the conversation. back. Amazing! Thank you. Please take a bow. Western Chorale. Woo! Take another bow. Take another bow. Yay! Awesome. Thank you so much. You're amazing. Western Chorale. Amazing. Thank you so much. That's amazing. Perfect. Way. That was awesome. I love it. I love it. I love it. It's different every time. So good. Yeah, they learnt that so quickly. That was incredible. So this song's called Me the Machine. And this one basically inspired me to do the next album in a completely different way. Because from the last record, the way I toured that, I actually, every night I would improvise a piece of music, and I would ask the audience what key, what tempo they would like it in, what instrument they would like me to start on. I have lots of different instruments on stage with me. And so from that, I would make a piece of music from a charity that the audience would kind of like me to give to. And then the next morning I would upload it, and they would download it, and the money that they paid for that would go directly to their charity from their own town. But to do that was really difficult. It was really difficult to make sure that the funds got to the charity, you know, crossing all the red tape, and that we weren't going to get charged, you know, fees by PayPal, which of course we did. But it was just really difficult to give money to charity. It was really annoying. Anyway, in the process of that, I found how limiting it was with the gear that I had. Because when I want to improvise with electronic music, you're stuck in boxes. You're stuck using, like, you know, computers and faders and buttons, and you're kind of restricted into one place. And I always found it very limiting. And so I really, more than ever, I had this urge to create something where I could create music in the flow. I could sculpt sound. And so I did this album differently so that I could take time to work on the project for the gloves. And I got an amazing team of people together so that we could start to build this system, because there wasn't anything on the shop, you know, anything out there like it. People were making music with gloves, and what I saw somebody called Ellie Jessup. She was at the MIT, and she did this very simple thing where she sang something, caught it with a pinch of a little pinch like that, and then it took a nano little bit of her voice and synthesized it into a long note. And then she did this, and then it made a vibrato effect. And something that's such a simple thing, and it just, everything clicked in me. Of course, I need gloves. I need gloves. That's what I need. Quick, let's make it. Because I was like, I always had to stop, like, and go over here and do stuff before, and I always got in the way of the flow of things, and it really frustrated me. And so I begged her. I was like, please, can you make the system together? And she was like, no, I've got to stay with MIT, and I can't do it. And so I was like, ah. So I went back and I worked with this friend of mine, Tom Mitchell, and we began. And 5 years later, 6 years later, here I am with the gloves, and I'm going to perform this song. And this is the first time that I've ever done a live performance of this song with the new gloves, with the new software. And the plan was to get the gloves to the point where I could make a piece of music, perform it entirely with gloves. And in order to do that, we had to create a whole load of software. We had to create a load of tech. So I'm going to play this song. It's called Me the Machine, and yeah, it's about embodying. I'm a machine. Me, the machine. Me. circuits jumping, soft circuits jumping. The pin code to happiness, access denied. Switching to manual, I'm switching to manual. song. Okay, so I finished the record, I'd done the gloves were getting loads of attention because of this song, when I could replay it before with the version earlier, with all the different software. And then I was like, what now? I released the record. I was going to do a tour. I had a massive kind of festival that I'd curated in London, loads of tech, and it was really great. I did a concert, but I was 7 months pregnant, because a bit of a surprise happened in bed one night, and now I have the most amazing creature in my life. So I had to cancel the tour. And then I was like, what am I going to do? I need to earn some money. So I got really lucky, actually. Thanks to Sennheiser, a brand, they came to me and they just said, hey, you know what? We'd like you to make our new song for our new campaign. And I was like, that's great timing. Thank you very much. Could I possibly make it maybe 3 months after being a mum? Just because I think it's going to be, I might be a bit, be a bit tired, and I just quite doing it, a little bit after Scout's born. So 3 months, and then I said I was going to finish it by April. Okay, so Scout screaming all day long. She had terrible colic, poor little thing. She was outside, she looked cooked, but from the inside, she wasn't totally cooked. And she was having problems, and it was very, very stressful. And so I was trying to write the song, but there wasn't any spare time. We didn't have a nanny, and Mike was trying to work, and I was trying to do this. And so I got very good at pushing the pram like that, and texting myself the lyrics. That's how I wrote this song. So I was trying to get away from Scout for a bit, because she was like nomming, quite intensively all the time. And I needed a little bit of a break, so to do the music, so I tried to pump some milk out. It's quite hard, so I got this industrial breast pump from like I'm going into too much detail, sorry. Anyway, but the thing about it was it had this like pumping thing, and I was like, that's a good rhythm. I'm going to use that. So while I was pumping and breasting downstairs in the studio, I was recording that, and that was great. So that was the beginning of the rhythm. And then I was trying to look after Scout, and Scout was like, no, you're not looking, you have to pay attention to me. So I put her on this play gym, and she was there. She was making, so she's the percussionist, so she's credited, so she's now on the blockchain. Yeah, and talking about the Pro Tools, the gear that I use, there's no way of Pro Tools or Avalon microphone, Avalon preamp, to know that that's the gear that I use. It'd be amazing if they could give me free stuff, because they know that I like their stuff, if they thought that I'd be a good pairing, for instance. So I put in the making of, how I made the record, what inspired me to make it. I put in, and then I put in all the events that I'd played at, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, that's going on for ages. So you can see all the gear, yeah. Next thing. Okay, so I was like, there's all the data. People have fun with it. If you want it, you can have it for free. Fans can have it for free. Everyone can have it for free. Unless they're going to make money out of it, then please give me some. But if you'd like to, please donate. So I offered some options to donate. And then I put in some terms and conditions on the website. So I said, if you're an individual, you can use it for free, for download or stream. If you are retail, then you have to give me some money. If you're commercial, you have to give me some money. Remix, you can use it for free. But if you do it commercially, then here are the terms. We split it basically halfway. But now, wouldn't it be amazing to be able to go across all services? If you're under 16, you can use my music entirely for free. If you're over 60, totally use it for free. You've worked hard enough, I give you this gift. It's my birthday, I'm feeling generous, everybody, music for free. Oh my goodness, there's something awful going on in the world. I wish I could divert some money immediately to that cause. I could do it. If I had this system, we could do this. We could really, really help on a massive, huge scale. So one of the guys who put it up online, this company called Ujo Music, and they're using the Ethereum blockchain. And so Tiny Human is actually the first song in history to be on the blockchain, using smart contracts. So for the first time, this piece of music distributed monies to individual bank account, to individual cryptocurrency digital wallets. So we can pay people instantly. Albeit not many people are using Ujo Music, it is true, but it's the concept, and it's very exciting, and it got lots of press, and people got kind of excited about that. And there you can see the splits, you can see who owns what for the first time. You can't see that information at the moment. You could see other uses. Now, they don't do this, but you could see, for instance, video splits, like what the director, who's the director, who's the choreographer, and instead of paying these people up front, so Tiny Human. So here we go. So I said, there's all my data. You have that. And now from you, I would like how you used it, what kind of stuff you put on your service, where in the world you used it, what were the age groups, how many streams, how much did we get for it. You know, tell me I want your data. That's the only thing that I want in return. Maybe some cash, but basically I want your data. That's so important, and it's so, so important. It would help me tour. It would help me know how to plan. It would help everyone to do this, every musician to do this. So the next thing we have, so that was just one song we're talking about, one song, one. And all the other songs that you saw, all that data, 6 more songs, and then here's maybe 120 songs. All of that data, that is the Imogen Heap spore. And on there, at this kind of grander level, you imagine if I had my correct biography, my tour dates, the brands that I was interested in, what other artists I champion, what charities I'm aligned with. Imagine if that data was like official, verified information in one place, which everyone could plumb into. That'd be just so brilliant. But that does not exist at all, because there's all these blocks. There's these industry blocks, and they keep all your data, and they don't like you talking to anyone, and they don't like telling anyone else about their data, and so they keep their thing over here. And then there's a database over here, but they don't talk to them. There's another database here, and they don't talk to it. And all these people don't talk to one another, and it's not helpful. It's not helpful for us at all. So here we go. So now it kind of zooms out, and these are some of the people that I've worked with. And how do they all interrelate with what I've done? How do we tag together that information so that we can search through that data? Now imagine the whole of the planet, all across the planet, from India to China to Russia to outer Mongolia, to be able to have all of those artists, all of that data, all tagged and beautiful and semantic music web. Imagine if that could happen. Imagine how much that would free us up. And being able to see the journey of a song and the payment it receives and all that, it would be so, so amazing. So this is getting a lot of exciting thoughts, because people are starting to develop technologies for blockchain, music for blockchain. And I wanted to get in there with the technologists and go, okay, this is great what you're doing, but just could we think about it like this? And how could what you're doing help us get to something like this? And so labels and managers and artists and everyone's suddenly getting very excited. And even big companies are getting excited, because I'm not the competition. I'm an artist. I am the source. I'm the source, I'm the creative, along with all the collaborators, along with this music. We are the source. We are the thing which the whole industry is built upon. So please, can you think about us when you're thinking about the industry, when you're thinking about your tools? Can you think about us? Because it's got to the point where it's not sustainable for a new artist to make money anymore. It's just not sustainable. Everybody has donation buttons on their website, unless you're like Taylor Swift, or you've won a Grammy. You manage to make money out of selling records, but it's just not the norm, and it should be. It should be the norm. So here we go. Next thing, mushrooms. So mushrooms are living off the mycelial network. This is mycelia. This is the biggest organism that lives underneath the ground. It stretches for tens of kilometers. And I imagine seeing this data as kind of like that. It's an ecosystem. And on top of it, the mushrooms pop out of the ground from the goodness of this data. And so this is how I describe it. These are the mushrooms. And so what could the mushrooms do? So this mushroom might be interested in maybe searching stringed instruments, or maybe a particular instrument. It might want to follow the career of just an instrument, not necessarily the people who owned it, but that instrument, like what records did it come on? And we're not just talking about the last 100 years, we're talking about the next 1,000 years. Imagine following a Stradivarius all the way through millennia of all the different records that it had been on. Or here you might have somebody trying to book a festival, and they could see all the other artists that are interested in other artists, and they could make a little cluster and know that those artists would be quite up for doing a festival, because they know that all those other artists are going to be there, who they've worked with. They could pull together, pool their resources, and they could do a festival. Another one could be called Thank the DJ. And basically, you can search at any one point where your songs are being played in the world, because radio is streaming directly from mycelia, and you know at all points where your songs are being played. And you could zoom in, and you could get a little bit of information that would say, oh, somebody in Warsaw is playing your song. And you're like, oh, wow, cool. I'm just going to call him up. I'm going to give him a call, and I call him up on DJ, radio. Hello, it's Imogen Heap here. Thanks so much for playing hide and seek. I really appreciate it. Did you know that I wrote that song, blah, 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 blah. And then you connect with people in the car with your own music, first time ever, be able to really connect with the journey of your song, so it doesn't just fall off a cliff. It'd just be so good. So thank the DJ. I'd like to make that one. So here we go. In order to make this happen, what we need to do, which is what Mycelia is, it's not a platform. Mycelia isn't a platform. It's just, it's me times, you know, thousands and thousands of artists and managers. It's us creating the standards for our music to thrive within. It's creating a database of music, of personnel, under the umbrella of ethical, commercial, and technological standards that we all need to set in order for this to happen. So imagine, if these, you could imagine that, there's a little light there, come on one of the mushrooms. So if you're in your car, you're driving along, and you hear a song by Imogen Heap, and a little light comes on your digital radio, and you go, oh, that's the Mycelia light, or that's the Fair Trade music light. That means that Imogen is being fairly compensated for this music right at this moment, and the money is going into a crypto wallet, and it's all very exciting. And you could really, you know, it means that the artist can connect really just hugely out the tentacles of that music and where it reaches, and we can have that conversation. A cafe might realize, oh, all of these different songs were being used in my cafe or being written in my cafe. You know, it could have a little plaque saying, I don't know, Bob Dylan's song written here in 1963 that they didn't know, and that information could be on this system. Imagine, brands could search. Anyway, I'm getting very carried away. You get the idea. So that's what Mycelia is, and at the moment, if anyone wants to come and help us, just go to imogenheap.com/Mycelia, and you will find a website, and you can sign up and help us devise stuff to make it happen, because it really is possible. The technology is out there. I've met the people. I've met lots of people doing incredible systems, but we just need to get together and talk and not create individual islands and build something that's fair and true and good. Yeah, so tiny human. Imagine me very, very late at night, breastfeeding Scout, tearing my hair out, no sleep. At 0508, you're breaking me apart again. In the space-time continuum, it buckles and bends around your every twist and turn. I can barely remember life before you. Stop away from joy to misery. Whoa, 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 whoa. When the night becomes day, I give you my every last ounce. You make a pincushion out of me. You can thank me later, babe. Could anyone deserve Yes, you are. 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 Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you to this fabulous bunch of musicians here. Thank you so, so much. Thank you for putting up with me. Thank you for letting me be here. Sorry for the wait.